Thanks to recent court documents, we now have the inside truth on why Stadia failed from one of the senior management team of Stadia. So not press speculation, not game fandom speculation, not random Dave down the pub speculation, but the truth from one of the senior members of the Stadia management team, thanks to court documents that were recently revealed in the FDC Microsoft case. We're going to break down exactly what was said by this ex-senior manager of Stadia and reveal the truth of why Stadia failed. Let's get to it. So first of all, let's dive into exactly who is revealing this information and why it's so credible and why it's the truth. This is Dov Zimring, and he's currently Director of Product Management at Google. But if you check out his LinkedIn, down here, you will see he was initially the Stadia product lead from May 2013. Yeah, that's when things really started on this, to May 2023. So after it actually closed down, and the Director of Product Management for Stadia from October 2020. Just after a year after it officially launched, he was promoted to Director of Product Management Stadia. And it's his words that were submitted to court as part of this FDC Microsoft case that reveal the inside truth to why Stadia wasn't a success and ultimately why it was shuttered by Google. So that is who Dov Zimring is. And on a recent live show, I dived into lots of detail on exactly what Dov Zimring said, explaining the demise of Stadia. And that's what we're going to be doing right now. Dov Zimring basically talks through why, in his opinion, why Stadia failed. It was only this year that Stadia actually shut down. Obviously, they announced it almost a year ago, but it closed down in January this year. The lights were switched off. Apparently, Google revised the business plans for Stadia in February 21. So around the time that they closed Stadia Games and Entertainment Studios, that lowered subscriber goals for the platform, as well as pushing immersive streams. So by the end of December 20, they had hoped to get 1 million subscribers. And as the Business Insider said, they fell short. The insider said they fell short, and now we know they did fall short. It says down here, as discovered in previous court documents, reported only to have around 750,000 subscribers in its early days. Basically, I think in that first year, the target was 1 million subscribers. So they're short by 25%. Now, you might say 750,000 is a lot. I mean, it's nearly 1 million, yeah, but it's a 25% shortfall. So if you put that in revenue terms and you said, oh, we're short by 25%, year on year, you've lost a year's revenue. If you think about it, in 4 years' time, you've lost the equivalent of a year's revenue. And in fact, it's probably more because it compounds. Basically, by December 2020, they'd missed their target by 25%, which is a big chunk. Plus, the cost of development had rocketed by that time, and it sort of seen big acquisitions being made by Microsoft, billions of pounds being spent. And as we found out, when Activision Blizzard ended up being 70 billion, it was like 2 billion for ZeniMax or whatever, and then 70 billion. And now you miss your target by 25%, your subscriber, which is fundamental, your bread and butter of your business strategy, you've missed it by 25%. So they decided to shut down Stadia Games and Entertainment and lower the subscriber goals for the platform, as well as pushing immersive stream for games. Yet despite the drastic reduction in those expectations, Google Stadia still lacked enough players to have a viable business. Even with this drastic reduction in the scope. So they clearly, and even at the time, I was optimistic, but most sensible people, some people sort of said they've changed their scope and and it won't work, or they're shutting it down. My view was, yeah, they've changed their scope and they've reconfigured the business strategy. And that is exactly what they did, just as I said at the time. Now, I was optimistic that new business strategy, that approach, because clearly they hadn't met their targets, hadn't, achieved what they wanted to do. And so they thought, okay, we just need to lower the expectations and remodel the strategy. Fingers crossed it would all work. Even with this drastic reduction in expectation in the scope of the service, Stadia was unable to attract enough subscribers. This is the senior member of the management team of Stadia speaking. This is not me speaking. Stadia was unable to attract enough subscribers to maintain a viable business without any clear path to reaching critical mass. That's the whole point. You want 1 million in your first year. This is what I'm saying about the compounding effect. 1 million subscribers in your first year. 2 million and a bit by your second year. Well, if you're already short by 25%, that means by the second year, you're likely to be short by 35% or 40%. Yeah, if you don't have a dramatic shift. By a third year, you're short by 50%. You're going to have a compound. If you're short in your first year, unless you do something dramatic, it will have a compounding effect. So you either re-strategize and say, okay, let's reduce the size of our ambition. And that's what they did. Without any clear path to reaching a critical mass of subscribers, Google announced that they would shut down in 2023. Zimring goes on to explain that Stadia's low player count led to struggles with getting AAA games on board. And that was a big complaint with Stadia, wasn't it? Where are the AAA games? Where are the AAA games? And, people like me say, oh, we don't really need them. But actually, they did. And it became this self-fulfilling circle, this vicious spiral. It became a spiral. They had to spend all this money up front. Obviously, new platform. You need to get the big games on the platform. You need to get, Red Dead Redemption 2, Cyberpunk, FIFA, Madden, Resident Evil, how we all cheered Resident Evil Village. They allegedly played Capcom, $10 million advance to get Resident Evil Village. But you can't keep doing that. But you have to do that when you launch, Doom Eternal, all that, with the big games. And then you hit your critical mass. And then you can go to the publishers like Take-Two and you go, see, look at that, all those subscribers. 1 million. We've reached 1 million subscribers. There's a real market here. And in year 2, we'll have 2 million subscribers. Suddenly, you Take-Two and your Rockstar, who are reluctant to give games to, Stadia, and EA go, yeah, okay, let's talk money. Show me the money. Let's do this. But by not hitting that subscriber requirement, by not hitting that target, it becomes harder to convince. EA going, fine, we'll give you these games. Are you still paying out those big bucks that you paid in the first year? Well, Stadia, well, no, obviously we can't do that because that's unsustainable. Then EA and Rockstar are going, oh, well, we're not bothered. We're not interested then. It's not worth our while. Too much effort to get out of bed. I mean, you hardly got enough. You haven't got your targets in millions. So what's the point? If you give us loads of money, yeah, we'll keep doing it. But giving them loads of money is not sustainable. Developers who own the most valuable games, so we're talking, Take-Two, Rockstar, EA, etc., Activision, explain their decision whether to port a game onto a new platform like Stadia was driven by the growth potential of their games on that emerging service. Stadia's lack of important AAA games created a self-sustaining cycle whereby players would not subscribe to Stadia because it didn't have Fortnite, because it didn't have Call of Duty. And in turn, many AAA game developers would not develop a game for Stadia due to its small user base. So it became this spiral. Activision, before Microsoft was keen to acquire it, was apparently in talks with Google Stadia for quite some time and regularly requested updated subscriber figures. But they never reached agreement with Google due to the low subscriber count. So this complaint about, where's Call of Duty? I always said, don't be mistaken. Google are talking to Activision Blizzard and these people. They're talking to these big developers. They know they need to get Call of Duty. They know they need to get Fortnite on their platform. But they didn't get the deals done. It wasn't as though they weren't trying, but with obviously, clearly, their missed subscriber target. Then he goes on, as I mentioned before, Zimring adds that Microsoft's acquisition of Activision will make it even more difficult for existing and new platforms to attract users and compete against Microsoft services. Hence, the UK CMA, we've come full circle today, hence the UK CMA blocking the deal for this very reason. Microsoft's acquisition of Activision makes it more difficult for existing and new platforms to attract users and compete against Microsoft services. Thanks to the CMA, too late for Stadia. Yeah, a year too late. The irony. The CMA basically say to Microsoft, you've got to make your games, Activision games, available to platforms, even if they don't have Windows, like a Stadia. Almost a year to the week, like a week short of a year, Stadia announced their closure. Oh, the irony. If only they'd held out. If they'd held out for another year. It's interesting. I was talking to somebody at the weekend about it, and obviously, if Stadia had been a separate company, like a smaller company with smaller expectations, it could have, built slowly, like a Boostroid. Boostroid don't have the money that Google have, but then again, without that money, you don't necessarily get those big games, officially get those big games on your platform. So you need to be a big company to be able to get the big games. But if you're a big company spending that kind of money to get those big games, you need to have a viable business and get the big subscriber numbers. So you can't really operate as a sort of low expectation company and trundle along, which is kind of like what I and many people who were very supportive of Stadia kind of hoped. Once we realized that Stadia had reset their strategy in February 2021, we kind of hoped that they would just, build it slowly. But obviously, Google is a big company and they don't have the patience to sort of build something slowly. It has to work out the door. And, the reason they didn't hit the targets wasn't just because they didn't have the AAA games. It was badly launched. In retrospect, I looked back. I did a video recently about Stadia 2.0. When they announced Stadia, they made a big thing about, imagine watching someone play Assassin's Creed on YouTube, and then you press a button, and then you jump straight into the game. Yeah, imagine that. What a brilliant, brilliant concept. Although the ability to do that didn't come out until nearly 18 months after Stadia launched. Why? Google own YouTube. It was almost as if YouTube and Google, like you often get in these big corporate organizations, are too siloed. And they go, no, they don't share. They're like, no, we're not sharing with you. We're not sharing with you. Well, you'd think you'd need somebody with an overview above Stadia and above YouTube to go, no, you guys, you've got to help each other. Or at least YouTube, you've got to help Stadia. But no, you need, and that would come down from the top. You needed somebody. So if you look at Microsoft, they've got Satella, the head of Microsoft. He's really in on the gaming side of things. Whereas the CEO of Alphabet, we know is not really a serious gamer. So it was a nice project, Stadia. Yeah, okay, yeah, I'll sign that off. Off you go. And that's it. What it needed is somebody higher than YouTube and Stadia to look down and go, right, we own YouTube. There are hundreds of millions of gamers on there right now. We've got this cloud gaming technology that we can integrate with YouTube. Right, day one, that's what happens. But they never did that, did they? I mean, Phil Harrison, very succinct about what the offering was before it was launched. But when it launched, it didn't really gel with that vision. Eventually it did, to a certain degree, but by then the concept had not won hearts and minds. It won, like my heart, it won my mind, because I was excited about the technology and the idea of streaming, especially the idea of being able to live stream without using heavy resources. And that wasn't available at launch. If they had the vision, why didn't they launch it fully formed to really win the hearts and minds, have the big games, and launch the concept fully formed, integrated fully with YouTube? YouTube would have benefited. YouTube in competition with Twitch would have benefited massively. Imagine being able to give your streamers, even a cut of the game sales or something like that. Imagine that. The opportunity. Google owned bloody YouTube. But of course, as we often see in big corporate companies where departments don't talk to each other. I'm a big fan of AI at the moment. And this is a prime example. The Alphabet Group had two departments. DeepMind, working on machine learning, really pioneering and pushing things, and then have a different department, a different section, a different business pushing AI. Yeah, doing their own thing, working in silo, completely separate. And then OpenAI come out, and then they get acquired by or get invested in by Microsoft or whatever. And then Microsoft announced that they're going to be integrating, ChatGPT in Bing and everything like that. Going to revolutionize Bing search and all that kind of stuff. And Google realized they're in an existential fight, and they go, right, this is from the top. The top realize, damn, we need to pull our finger out when it comes to AI. We've got some of the best AI minds in the world, producers and software developers and whatever, working on this. One over here in DeepMind and one over here in the AI. So they restructured because it came from the top, because they saw what needed to happen. And they basically said, right, DeepMind and you lot, AI lot, we are putting you together because you need to be at the forefront. We're going to invest in you heavily and push AI because this is the next frontier, and Google needs to be there competing because Microsoft are basically investing heavily in OpenAI, which is leading that. So we need to be the leaders, and we can't be the leaders if we've got two separate silos, silos operating separately. And so they restructured it and brought them together and forced them to work together to develop Google's AI and machine learning together. That's what it needed. It needed somebody with that vision who was massively into gaming at the top of Alphabet Group to go, right, what can we use that sets us apart? Not just the technology and the cloud technology that we have. What sets us apart from Microsoft? What sets us apart from Sony and other players? Not only do we have the cloud infrastructure, not only we do have this cutting edge cloud gaming technology that we've developed because of our infrastructure, we can deliver that. Secondly, we know that people love watching people play games. We know people love to play games and be watched and stream games. And we have the platform to do that. And the vision was bring it together. In hindsight, it needed somebody up there to go, we can leverage stuff that Microsoft don't have, which is a massive streaming platform, YouTube. And YouTube should be going, yeah, brilliant. We could come up with some innovative ideas to really compete against Twitch. But no, it was never brought together, and Stadia never met the required targets. And so when the tech crunch came last year and people were getting made redundant and cutbacks left, right, and center, Google was on a hiding for nothing. As it's been said, not just by me, by many people, the technology was amazing. Just the marketing and handling and the launch and all of that, in retrospect, complete car crash. So there you go. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. As I said, this is from someone who was in the room at the time. This is not press speculation. It's not, fandom or anything like that. This is the truth revealed in a court document. So we know that it has veracity. We know it has integrity, and it is from ex-senior management from Stadia itself. So there you go. As ever, please hit the likes if you like this video. Even if you disagree with me, hit the likes. I'd appreciate it because I like it, YouTube likes it, and it helps people like you find content like this. And if you are new to my channel, then do me the great honor. Why don't you hit that subscribe button, toggle that notification bell, and that way you'll know when I go live with content just like this. I host a live show about gaming news every Monday night, 10 p.m. UK time. If you found this interesting, you might like to watch some of my other videos about gaming news and stuff like that right here. These ones here. Why don't you check them out?